nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
On Wednesdays, everything was closed until 2 p.m. in honor of the slave trade. I got transferred to an area, Barnesville, Georgia, that was like being thrown back into the 50s in terms of like how I started being treated, of people yelling the N-word at us to get off their lawn, telling us they're going to get their gun.
So this is a white area predominantly?
So it was literally like out of a movie, right? Like you'd go over to one side of the tracks and that's where all the black people lived. The other side of the tracks is where all the white people lived. They still, on Wednesdays, everything was closed until 2 p.m. in honor of the slave trade. Yeah, I guess during that time, everything would be closed so that people could go to the auction blocks.
What?
Yeah. And so they still honored that all the way in 2013, right? They still honored that. Everything was closed. You couldn't go to the library, couldn't go to like the store because nobody had work until 2 p.m. And it was because that town was a slave town where they would do like the railroad came through it. And that's until 2 p.m. there would be auctions and they just kept it. Like I was just full on scared for my life, you know, and people still had their Confederate flags hanging, you know, and I learned very quickly, like, to not go to the houses that had any Confederate flag hanging because it's just dangerous, you know? It was scary and it was a lot, like, emotionally to deal with.
Okay, so I just happened to come across this video and I wanted to hear the full video because there were other videos that were created from this and people were setting up here saying that she's lying, that Barnesville is predominantly black and this never happened, but yet there was a colorless woman who was showing all of it was a town and things were closed, it looked like to me, even though, you know, there was some people driving through, but she was showing the town and it looked really old. She was showing everything. The people are basically calling her a liar, that this is not true. They've been to Barnesville and this is not true. And there's a lot of black people too who's saying she's a liar, which is detrimental to say the least, because me being a millennial, I have been to towns that also made me uncomfortable that I've talked about. One in Illinois, basically, where was followed like the scene out of Mississippi Burning by cops, no lights, to make sure that our black asses got out of the town before it got dark. And then there's another place that I went to and it was a small town. You would blink, you'd miss it. And basically me and some people who were with me were looked at like we were aliens. When I tell you everybody stopped and stared, it was like the Twilight Zone, as if they've never seen black people before, and it made us very uncomfortable, and we always made sure to be out of the town before sundown. There are sundown towns that still operate. There's still lynching going on. People found hung that were said to have taken their lives, even though they had their hands tied behind their back, even though getting up to that high in a tree would require like a ladder or something. Someone was hung off the building of a store. So to sit up here and tell this girl, because you haven't experienced it, doesn't mean other people haven't experienced this. And I'm getting really tired of ninjas who are sipping the red, white, and blue Kool-Aid as if things are progressive and things are going forward and the past is in the past. That's BS. It's not in the past. It's still everything that was happening then is happening now in the dark and in systematic ways. And some of the old traditions are still being practiced. There was a police officer who was talking about his fantasy of going around with his gun and just offing melanated people for no reason at all. Just because he doesn't like us. Okay, there was a Trump pastor, which I just did a video on, calling a sitting Supreme Court justice a monkey. Young teen girls running around in a makeup retailer doing blackface. So many celebrities who have done blackface unapologetically. So to sit up here and say that this young lady is lying, the fuck? Like, you really are mentally dead. You are spiritually and mentally destroyed to sit up here and pretend like this is something that's a fantasy that's made up, as if you can't drive down one block and see absolute poverty, and then the next thing you know, you turn a corner and you see all these big sprawling beautiful homes that with pristine lawns and stuff. Like, that's not segregation. As if you certain areas that price certain people out. Come on now. You can be in one side of a town and you see us, but then the next thing you know, you don't when you turn a block or two. But yeah, the thing that upset me was the black people in the comment section talking about, oh, she's lying. Oh, this is predominantly black. What the hell does that have to do with anything? They come in and gentrify predominantly black neighborhoods. The hell? But anyway, I'll go ahead and leave it right here. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one.